Hi guys, and welcome to Coffee Chats with Toby, where today we get to do part 3 of this three-part series. We get to wrap it all up and put together some action points on both part 1 and part 2. So just to recap, part 1 we talked about the 80-20 principle, how we're going to try and spend 80% of our time doing the things that give us the greatest level of return. 20% obviously are those things that we have to do to get the wonderful 80%, that trade-off principle, right? Then we went through the roles and responsibilities of our life, so the roles that we have to do, and ultimately what those roles pertain to, things that we have to do as part of those roles or those identities. We then in part 2 broke down what the genius mode was, gave us a big overview look of what it is that we as a human being, things that we're good at, things that we're not so good at, things that we love doing, and things that we may not love doing. We then broke and did that for each and every one of those roles. Now, I know that would have taken a lot of time, so I really thank you for putting in the hard yards and doing that. I guarantee you the return you'll get on that is astronomical, because today what we're going to do is we're going to take that and we're going to start to put some action points in place to start to deliver to ourselves the best life that we want to live. All right, so shall we get stuck in? So, first things first, what we're going to do is we're going to go and have a look at all those lists of things that we created for all the different roles that we've gone through. So, first things first, what we're going to do is we're going to punch this out and we're going to look at these and we're going to start to look at a big general overview of all the roles and responsibilities that we have, and we're going to start to make note of which ones have the huge lists of the things that we enjoy doing and things that we're good at, and the smaller and obviously the other end of the spectrum, the roles and responsibilities, which have the big list of things that we don't enjoy doing or the things that we're not so great at. So what we're going to do is when we look at that, we're going to start to break things down, and we're going to go, right, well, let's just say manager was one of your roles. And you were actually the CEO as well. And when you broke it down, the manager had lots and lots and lots in the right-hand side of your genius mode, and only a couple of things over here. And the CEO had lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of things here, and only a couple of things here. Well, it doesn't take a genius to go, well, right, well, this is where we need to spend more of our time, and we need to start to look at this and start to either reduce our time, or better still, when you go out on the lookout, how's this eye? Oh, beautiful. We need to go find someone who is best suited, or that they have somewhere in their roles and responsibilities, or their dream role and responsibilities, the manager's stuff that looks more like this, right? Because then what we can do is we can, once we find these people, we can start to upskill these guys to take over this role, which will essentially mean that we're decreasing our time, and where that means we get to spend more time over here, right? So that's the big overview of it. So if you're finding that you're spending a lot of time in roles and responsibilities that you're not good at, or aren't even of an interest to you, or you want to progress past that role and into this other role, right, which is something that we didn't do in the part 2 that probably should have, is we should have written down roles that we may have been interested in doing, and then really fleshing those out as well, so that we could start to look at the certain things that we need to grow ourselves in to fit into these other roles. So I might be a practitioner and I want to become a leader, or I might be a leader and want to become a manager. Well, I need to break down what it takes to be a manager, what the roles and responsibilities are, what the identity of a management is, and what personality traits do they have, and do I match that currently? And what are the things that I got to do to upskill myself to fit that perfectly, so that when I jump into that role, I'm going to master it and really smash it out. And then I might want to look for a mentor. So I'm already starting to really get deep into this topic here, right, of action points. You find a mentor who is in the role that you want to be in, or maybe is in the same role as you somewhere else who you aspire and look up to, and you start to break down what are the things that they do, what are the attributes that they have that you might not. and then you look to grow in those areas. So that's essentially the next step. So once you've eradicated the roles that you don't want to be a part of or you're not interested in doing, you start to need to create a game plan on how it is that you can fix that. Now, if you're in a position of power that you can just make that happen, obviously you go straight for that and you just start to implement these changes, like looking for people to grow into your role so you can move up. But that's easier for me to say because I'm sitting in a position where I can just make that stuff happen. If you're not, if you're in a bigger team and you're not in a position necessarily that you can just snap your fingers and make those kind of things happen, the best thing to do for you is to go and speak to someone senior to you that could potentially be the first step to making this change. And for you to go, right, well, if I'm a leader and and I want to become a manager, or that might be supervisor and want to become a manager. It could be anything, right? I'm talking professionally here. And I'm a leader here already. Why would I not go and talk to my manager? And if they're a good manager, they should be asking you these questions anyway. And why don't I go to them and say, hey, I did this cool thing. And what I've realized is that I really want to become a manager, not take your job, obviously, but I want to upskill myself. And I want to take on some responsibilities that you might have that I could make your job easier whilst I'm a leader. Can you explain to me and help me out here? Because ultimately I just want to grow myself. And I think that you personally are in a phenomenal, you do such a great job. And I would love to learn from you. And that's a really nice conversation. That manager is going to feel wonderful. They're going to be uplifted by that conversation. And if they're worth their weight in gold, they should see this as an opportunity of helping you, and in turn, which is going to help them. I mean, if you're now doing or helping or learning and growing into some of the responsibilities of a manager, it's obviously going to make that manager's job a lot easier too, right? So what I'm essentially imploring you to do is really flesh out these genius modes, right? So really look at these things and go, well, what are the things that I'm not so good at over here that I would like to, and that would help me upskill? Source out the people who can teach you those things and start to make those things happen. Ultimately, you are the person in control of your destiny. So it's up to you to really kind of find the source that can help you progress and grow, and ultimately eradicate the things that are within that 20% of the 80-20 principle that you don't really enjoy doing. Because ultimately, again, if you're going to the manager and you're saying, hey, as part of my role, I see all these things over here that I'm not so good at and things that I'm not really interested in, I would love to find someone else to do those roles. So I'm outsourcing these things, or a system that can make them spend me doing less time in that. Because ultimately, I know that you're getting a bad product out of me. I know that when I'm doing these things, there is someone out there that could be doing a better job than me at that, because I'm not interested in doing it. So I'm not going to try and grow and become better. How do you feel about that, manager? And they'll help you for sure. And if they don't, well, maybe you need to start to look at, is this the right place for you? Or you could say to the manager, do you mind if I go and outsource these things or find other answers or other ways of doing it, so I can spend less time over here, more time over here, which will ultimately give you a higher productivity of my time. And funnily enough, this actually kind of goes through into home life as well. If you hate doing the dishes or hate cooking, and every time you do them, it puts you in a bad mood, do you think you're going to be a great husband, brother, son to the people in your family? No, you're going to be unhappy. And because you're unhappy, that's going to impact on your mood, which will impact on your entire relationship. So if you can start to outsource or reduce the amount of time that you're spending doing the things on this right-hand side of the genius mode kind of formula, you're going to just be a much more pleasant person, a happy person, and you'll be able to serve those roles and responsibilities far, far better. And ultimately, what you'll find is that you will have a lot more free time to do the things that you do enjoy doing, which are on the left-hand side of the genius mode. So I know I haven't completely fleshed out step-by-step process on how to make this. If you want to, please just leave a comment or DM me and I can try and help flesh this out for you, because ultimately what I love doing is help creating successful people, help growing people, and help progressing them in their life. That's why I became an EP. Yeah, it was for exercise and physical activity. I think that's really important. But ultimately, I see that as a tool to help create better lifestyles for people in general. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. I hope you've had a lot of insight from the part 1, part 2, part 3 of this 3-part series. I hope that you guys have done the hard yards and done the 20%ers to help ensure that you're spending more time within that 80%, which kind of recaps on the 80-20 principle. Again, the next thing that we went through was breaking down all the roles and responsibilities of who we are and potentially who we may want to be. We then broke down the genius modes, so the different things within those roles and responsibilities, the things that we enjoy doing, the things that we are good at, things we don't like doing, things that we're not good at. And we've now started to break down the small things that we can do to outsource, or the conversations we can have with people who can influence on our time, and to start create solutions, because ultimately anything that we're not enjoying and not good at are problems. So we need to create solutions for these problems, and that could be to give them to someone else. It could be to upskill yourself to make that spend less. You become good at those things that you're not good at, or even creating a system or an automated process where you didn't have to do those things that you're not so good at. Yeah, so I hope you've learned a lot from this 3-part series. I've certainly enjoyed giving it to you. But until next time, my friends, you have a wonderful weekend, an awesome week, and I'll catch up with you next time. Till then, peace out and have a good one.